Hello everyone, welcome to Low Desert Love. My name is Jay, and we're gonna plant this Greenstalk today. Obviously, I am narrating this film because my microphone wasn't on. So we're gonna do this Mystery Science Theater 3000 style. So here is me pointing at my Greenstalk. We needed a vertical solution for our herb garden. I looked at a couple different things. We were out of space on the ground. We decided vertical was going to be the best option, and this is what we went with. The width of these pockets. These pockets are 7 inches deep. This is the vertical, what is this called? The Greenstalk Leaf is the version of Greenstalk. It is their newest version. The original version of Greenstalk is a 10-inch pocket. That one you can stack 5 high. Since these pockets are only 7 inches, you can stack this one 7 high. So here is what an empty planter looks like. It's got 6 pockets, so 7 tiers times 6 pockets each. That's 42 pockets of planting space that I can use here. And that's gonna grow me a whole lot of herbs. The 7-inch pockets are made specifically for plants that have a smaller root system. The 10-inch pockets for the original style, you can plant tomatoes in, peppers, beans, you can plant anything in those, but they came up with this other design to accommodate things like lettuces, small root vegetables, herbs, so you could get more stacks in one punch. It looks like I've picked up my seed packets. So obviously this is my herb garden. I don't know what we're talking about what I've already got planted in here. The current herbs I've got in there are, that's oregano, that down there is some rosemary and some sage. There's winter savory and cilantro on the bottom. What is up there? Oh, more rosemary. That is a parsley that came from an aquaponics system. It didn't like its rehoming into dirt, so it's gonna get yanked. It's not happy, clearly. More sage. That is basil that came from a hydroponic system transplanted into dirt. Those were propagation cuttings. They might make it. I don't know. They got heavily attacked by aphids. They might be a lost cause. I've got other basil that I bought to put in its place. What else? Oh, here's some pretty dill. And there's cilantro on the bottom there. Some beautiful dill. It was also attacked by aphids, so it got a heavy dosing of diatomaceous earth. Everything in this Greenstalk, short of the stuff that came out of an aquaponics system or a hydroponic system, was grown from seed in peekaboo cups. Like you're going to see me pull out the top here. It's got rolling casters on the bottom, and I've got one of them locked, so it's kind of hard to spin. That empty pocket, those 2 pockets, that is sorrel and striped amaranth. It's going to be my winter lettuce setup. They're all going to get transplanted out into the main garden once they're big enough. I might leave one in there, but I'm going to have salad all summer long. What is that? Oh, that's my chamomile. She was in a peekaboo cup. She got too big for it, so she got stuck in there until I can transplant her out into the main garden. I think that's all that's in there. Up here we've got cumin. That guy, I thought he was dead. He was more aphid than plant at one point, so I stuck him outside to get the aphids out of the house. It rained for like 3 days after that, and now it's one of the healthiest things I own. It's actually starting to flower. So he'll get planted in this stalk as well. This cup is full of yarrow, which is a medicinal flower. It's a medicinal plant. I couldn't even tell you how many yarrow plants are stuck in there. It's going to get transplanted out into the main garden as well, which hopefully will get done soon if the weather warms up. The soil in the soil bed's about 50 degrees. It needs to be closer to 60. So here's my packet of seeds. That stack right there is mostly different kinds of basil. I'm gonna do mostly, probably an entire tray of basil, and then some other random 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 trays. I've got 3 more trays to fill. So that is a packet of cinnamon basil, mammoth basil. That's probably going to get transplanted out because it grows huge leaves like a lettuce would. And that is a no-name brand packet of holy basil, also known as Tulsi basil. There is the, I think that's from Botanical Interests. Tulsi basil I bought this year. So it's newer seeds. Peruvian basil. That's cumin, because I thought that the other cumin was dead, so I was going to have to replant it, but now I'm not. Thai sweet basil. And lemon basil. I've also got a packet of tarragon. Never cooked with it, but it's a popular herb, so hey, let's grow it. And in the rest of the space, I'm going to try some of these edible flowers. We have purple ice plant. Its leaves are similar in taste to spinach. It's beautiful. It attracts pollinators. So we're going to give that one a shot. He might get transplanted out. I think he's going to get big. Zinnias. This zinnia is not edible, but it's a good pollinator plant. It attracts bees. Nasturtium. Nasturtiums are edible. The flowers are edible. The leaves are edible. There's actually nasturtium growing in my garden there to the left. This is a trailing nasturtium as opposed to a bushing nasturtium. So I'm hoping that, you know, it kind of vines and trails down and makes my stalk look all pretty. And what's next? What's that white packet I got? Oh, it's another zinnia. It's an orange zinnia. That one's a pinky red zinnia. So that's what we're gonna put into my Greenstalk today. What's next? Soil would be my guess. I have no head. So what do I got? I've got this bag of potting soil from Summer Winds Nursery. Just the local nursery here where I live in Arizona. Potting soil's light and fluffy. When you go buy bags of potting soil, they shouldn't be heavy. They should be fairly light compared to what you're used to picking up. Basic potting soil's got a lot of peat in it, peat moss, perlite, vermiculite. You need really good drainage for potting soil, especially in Arizona. Plants in general don't like wet feet, wet roots. You need good drainage. And a stalk setup, vertical growing like this, if you don't have good drainage in your soil, when you water from the top, it's not going to drip through to the bottom. So your plants on the bottom are going to be dry and dead, and your plants on the top are going to be drowning and dead. It's just not a good combination. So you want to make sure you've got good soil for drainage purposes. And I did not bring my cutting knife, my X-Acto knife, my pocket knife out. Be surprised how handy a pocket knife is in the garden. So we're going to open this, probably with I think I used a shovel. What am I oh, I'm reading the ingredients. There's some minor fertilizers in this bag, some bat guano, some kelp. Fertilizing in a Greenstalk's really simple, because, you know, you just throw it in the top with the water, especially if you use something like a fish fertilizer or a granular fertilizer. You just throw it in the top and water it in. Yep, I use the shovel to stab it. We're going to muscle it open. Dump this in here. No idea what I'm talking about. Dump the soil in. Gonna mix it. What's next? What am I do? Oh, I was probably talking about sifting. Anywho. Next, perlite. So I'm just gonna use a red party cup here. Put in 1. Look at all that dust coming up. Don't breathe that in. 2, 3, I think I go for 4. 4. And then I lose count and I throw in most of a 5. But I think per bag of soil, I think I generally go with 4 scoops. Next I've got peat moss. Pretty sure I don't measure this, I just throw a bunch in. Peat moss is cheap. Got it at Wally World for 11 bucks, 12 bucks for this whole giant thing. I've got, what do I got in there? I'm just scooping it out. If you want, you can sift your peat moss. It's a really good idea for seedlings. You don't want sticks of wood in there because roots on seeds can't really grow through sticks. So sifting your peat moss isn't a bad idea. For this, I'm not going to. Granted, everything I'm putting in here is being planted from seed, but since I'm mixing it and I'm cutting it into other potting mix, I'm not all that concerned about it. Plus, I tend to play the odds and I plant like 30, 50 seeds, expecting to get 1 or 2 to actually live. So I'm really not all that concerned about it. Peat moss isn't light, by the way. I mean, it is, but still a giant container to move around. So I'm going to mix this up. I will say mixing it up isn't the easiest thing to do, even in a giant container like this. I'm going to get down to the bottom and then I'll notice that the perlite and the peat moss count's gotten pretty low, so I'm going to sprinkle probably a little bit more in. Okay, so I'm talking about something actually important here. The height of your Greenstalk. Now this one is currently 4 tiers high, it's full of soil, it's got some moisture in it, it's fairly heavy, it's not going to tip over. It's not going to blow over. We get monsoons here in Arizona. Stuff blowing over is a big deal. Now when this Greenstalk is 7 tiers high, then I could get concerned about it tipping. You can affix it to a nearby pole, or I've seen people run poles up the middle. I'm not that crafty. It's going to be 7 tiers tall, and if weather's going to come, I'm going to take half the tiers, I'll just split it into 2. Take the top 3, 4 tiers off, set them on the ground, nobody's going to get blown over. No harm, no foul. I mean, weathermen only have to be right never and still get a paycheck, so keep an eye on the weather. If you're going to talk, if they're predicting high winds, cut your Greenstalk in half or secure it to a pole nearby, something. Alright, looks like I'm done mixing up the soil. We're going to fill up this bad boy here. Now, you do want these filled to the top, especially because after you wet it down, it's going to compact a little. Not a lot, it's not going to compact a lot, but it will compact. I mean, you want it to be, it's potting soil, it should be light and fluffy, but give those roots space to grow. So we're going to fill this up. I'm going to try not to make a mess on the ground. Okay, looks like I'm done filling this up. I'm going to spread the dirt out. We're going to get our watering dish. It sits on top when you're ready to stack. The water's got, it's got holes in that watering dish, so it has a direct path to trickle through and down, which it's a top-down watering system. That's how that works. Alright, and I'm back. Let's water this in. Now I'm getting this soaked. I want the whole thing soaked. Since we're planting from seed, I need it to be already wet, because once those seeds are in, filling it up with water like this isn't going to be practical, because you can see the water pooling and sliding. It's going to send your seeds everywhere. It's going to mix them all up. It's not a good way to do that. So we're going to thoroughly wet it here. I'm going to check the bottom, make sure the drainage is coming out. And I think I'm going to lift it up and you're going to be able to see there's water. Yep, you can see the water dripping through. So the potting soil is good. We're going to take the top watering tray off the current tower. Which packet that is. Peruvian basil, Tulsi basil. Oh, that's probably the Tulsi basil, the holy basil. So the seeds for these are going to be tiny. The packet says to plant them 1/4 of an inch deep. Generally, you plant seeds twice as deep as they are thick. So if your seed is 1 inch big, you plant it 2 inches deep. These are tiny seeds. It says to plant 1/4 inch deep, and it says to thin to 1 plant per 12 inches. Now obviously I'm putting these in an itty bitty Greenstalk, so I'm going to plant a whole bunch of seeds and hope that I get at least one that's healthy and thriving. I'll get to practice my pruning skills, because I'm pretty sure I plant something crazy like 50 seeds in here. Watch me as I struggle opening the package. I am terrible at opening seed packets. I don't know what glue they use, but it is definitely smarter than me. Little tiny black specks of seeds. They actually looked a lot like onion seeds. Alright, I've got my wet soil, and I'm just gonna sprinkle them on the soil here. Too bad you can't see that, but that's what's happening. I'm just sprinkling seeds in one pocket. Just one pocket. I'm just, what do they call that? Cascade sowing or something? I'm sure there's some fancy name for sprinkling seeds on soil. So I've got those all sprinkled on. In a perfect world, I would have labeled it already. And I'm going to grab a handful of my soil mix here and just dust the top of it. I'm not even going to use the whole handful. I'm just going to sprinkle just enough on to give it that 1/4 inch depth under the top layer of soil. And I'm going to water it in. Now how am I going to water it in? I'm going to take a spray bottle, your run-of-the-mill $1 from the dollar store or Wally World or wherever. Just a spray bottle, put it on fine mist, and just dampen the topsoil that you just sprinkled on there. That's all those seeds are going to need. So those are planted. There's my watering tray. It's going to go in between, so it's going to go right there. And it always feels like it's never on all the way, but it is. I'm going to stack this bad boy right there. It's got grooves. You got to check and make sure you're not squishing any other plants that are already there. There we go. And we're going to go around and check that all the little feet are snug and secure. Man, that parsley looks sad, doesn't it? Now, alright, is it on? It's on. Sweet. I'm going to take my top watering tray, put it back on. Obviously, it's full of my seed packets right now, so I'm not going to fill it up. And boom. Done. Comparisons. This is name brand Greenstalk. There are plenty of other brands that make something similar to this in the vertical gardening category. I don't believe Greenstalk was the first. I believe there is a company called Easy Grow that makes hydroponic style solutions, but they use a setup just like this, and they've been around since the early 2000s. In comparison to other brands that there are, Walmart, Wally World, sells a smaller version of this. It comes in a 2-tier, I think is what they're selling in store. It's got 3 pockets, it's 2-tier, it's very much suited to indoor. Like if you wanted to grow herbs on your countertop, that would be a great way to go. The difference is going to be in 2 things. The thickness of the plastic is crazy different. The ones on Amazon, the ones at Wally World, standing up to Arizona heat, probably not going to last long. They just don't have the durability. But if you're growing on your countertop, the one from Wally World is going to suit you just fine. The watering system is basically the same. It's top-down watering. They don't have the separate watering tray in between the layers like this one does, but it does have top-down watering. Alright guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm sorry this is a narrated video. I will definitely make sure my microphone's turned on next time. But thanks for joining me today, and remember, if you're aiming to thrive, at at the very least, you'll survive.